Thank you. Ah, fantastic. Thank you. So I'm the last speaker in the Pro track, and it's the last session of Digital Dragons, so let's have some fun. I'm the only thing between you and one of these beers. I'm going to drink mine all the way through. Hopefully I'll become more funny as I drink more. So yeah, my name is Chris Book. I'm an apps guy. I've been working for many sort of mobile companies. I worked at Orange and Telefonica, and I joined Distimo last year. So how many of you have heard of Distimo already? Do you know what we do? No? How many people here consider themselves a developer, mobile app developer? Yeah? And how many would be on the marketing side, on the business side? So what do the rest of you do? Say again?
We listen.
I don't understand. Say again?
Something new.
Something new. Okay, you're learning. You're learning. Well, hopefully I can teach you something. So I'm going to explain a bit about Distimo. I'm going to look at some market statistics, and then I'm going to do a deep dive into kind of mobile engagement and how to make money from applications. So the topic of the presentation is Show Me the Money. How many people recognize this guy and this film? Have you watched this film? So I'm just going to put the whole film on for the whole speech, so I'll just sit down and let it go.
Just tell me very personal, very important thing. Show me. Show you the money. That's not so good. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Louder. Show me the money. That's it, brother. You got to yell. Show me the money. I need to feel you, Gary. Show me the money. Gary, you better yell. Show me the money. Show me the money. You know this record. Show me the money. I love black people. I love black people. What you gonna do, Gary? Show me the money! Congratulations, you're still my agent.
So you get the idea. It's not just about making apps and making games because you love them. You know, you want to have some return on that investment of your time. I just love that film, and I love that particular scene from the film as well. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to take you through some recent market data. I'll explain a bit about Distimo and how we come up with this market data. I'm going to talk about something that I like to call the D factor, which is a way of working out how your competitors or how apps generally and games generally in the market are monetizing and engaging with their users. And then I'll do some live demo stuff. So I don't want to go on for 50 minutes and just talk about numbers after numbers after numbers. It needs to be interactive. So as I'm going through it, if you think, yeah, I'm interested in a particular subcategory of games in mobile, so it might be role-playing games, it could be dice games or casino or whatever. Think of some countries and some categories that you would be interested in seeing, some actual live estimates of how many downloads they're driving and how much revenue they're driving. First up, what is Distimo? So not many of you had heard of us when I asked at the start of the talk. We have some products, and mainly they're completely free. So if you are a publisher of a game on iOS, on Google Play, even on things like Nokia Ovi and BlackBerry stores, which I'm guessing you're not really investing in, we go and log in on your behalf to your console and bring the data back into a single interface. So you can see your downloads, your revenues, your reviews, your rankings, all in one place. We also have a conversion tracking tool, so you can see the success of your campaigns. So if you're campaigning on Twitter, on Facebook, on ad networks such as AdMob, you can see from what source of traffic your installs and then your post-install revenue and engagement comes from. All of the data available from Distimo is available via an API, so if you have a different business intelligence tool, if you happen to like working with spreadsheets, you can extract it and use it in those other tools. And then how do we make the money? We make money from App IQ, and that's the thing I'm going to show you at the end of the talk, where we're able to estimate the download and revenues of any app in any country, in any store. And I'll show you a bit about that at the end. So a bit of market data. So what's happening in terms of mobile games, mobile apps generally, and monetization? You know, where's the money coming from? So this shows the combined app revenue from Google Play and from iOS in each country in 2013. As you can see, the United States is way ahead of its nearest competitor, Japan, in terms of the amount of revenue being generated from these two mobile app stores. Japan is second, and then South Korea and the United Kingdom, and so on and so forth. But I think what's more interesting is how's that changing? So where's the growth happening? Where might you want to target your games in order to generate some more revenue? So in 2013, comparing it to the same month in 2012, South Korea, China, and Japan grew massively compared to the rest of the world. So they're really growing in terms of extracting cash out of people that are playing your games. I've been saying for years and years and years, write an application for iOS, write your game for iOS first, and then, you know, maybe if it's been successful, you should port it to Google Play. Actually, that's becoming a misnomer. So in lots of markets, Google Play is actually higher revenue than iOS now. So there is a coming together. There's almost parity in revenue from those two stores. Not to say that they're exactly the same. Different applications are successful on Google Play compared to on iOS, and vice versa. So you have to be, you know, understanding what's happening in each of those separate markets when you're developing your own applications and your own games. So as I said, Google Play revenues is catching up. This shows 3 separate applications showing in Spain that Google Play generates more revenue than iOS. But it really is only in Spain. So when you take revenues for a particular game and you look at it, then yes, in Spain and in South Korea. And there's specific reasons for that. In Spain, Android penetration is really, really high compared to iOS. And in South Korea, the dominance of Samsung there really drives revenue. And the other important thing, if you are looking at targeting countries with Google Play, you need to find out whether Google Play have implemented operator billing for the transactions that occur there, because it's massively more successful when they've got all mobile operators connected to Google Play for payments. So we had a look at some information for Poland specifically, seeing as we're here. And what this shows is the difference between Google Play, and also we've separated iPhone and iPad. So you can see, compared to the United States and also Japan, then in Poland, actually, the iPad drives more revenue than the iPhone. Now, maybe you can think about why that is in Poland. You're going to know more about the local market than I do. And as you can see, 54% of all revenue is from iOS, and 46. So you can compare that to the previous chart where I showed you the different revenues from that. But yeah, iPad is driving more revenue than iPhone. So obviously when you're thinking about your games development, then, you know, as a target platform, larger screen, real estate is driving more revenue in that case. But Google Play is growing faster than iOS. So in the first 4 months of 2014, we saw a 7% increase in total revenue on iOS, but a 13% revenue on Google Play. So as I said, it's catching up. And I'm not sure about the operator billing situation in Poland. I'm pretty sure that Google have sorted that out here already. And that might be one of the reasons why revenue from Google Play is accelerating. And what we also see is some localization. I think this has been covered many times in this conference at least, and in every other mobile conference I've been to this year. These players have, in both free and in the top 10 applications in April for Poland on iOS, then these localized applications are doing really, really well. And then one final slide about market data. This is the same split I showed you before, where Poland, US, and Japan, but shown across different countries. And the obvious big difference to point out is there is no Google Play in China. So if you're thinking about how Google Play and iOS revenues are becoming on a par, they're becoming similar levels, that's excluding China. So I think if you were to, you know, take the iOS revenues from China out of that global view, then you're really talking about a 50-50 revenue split between those two platforms. Some other interesting analysis, looking at specific apps recently, the impact of being featured by, in this case, iOS, but we see a similar impact when you're featured on Google Play as well. So this is a very specific award show for children's applications, and the impact of this application, the Nick app from Nickelodeon, is huge. And also for each of these 4 applications, I don't know if you know about this, kind of when you go into a specific app, the 3rd tab along now, it says customers who downloaded this also liked that. And Apple are seeing a lot of traction. And these 4 kind of examples show that if you can get a recommendation based on somebody else's app, so if you've got a sports simulation game and you get recommended for the biggest selling sports game, a basketball game or a soccer game or something during the World Cup, and you get customers also like this, then you're going to have a huge boost in installs based on that. Now, I'm not saying you can go out there and meet the Apple guys and you're guaranteed to get a featured slot. And I'm guessing this is an automatic featuring as opposed to a curated featured. But it's very interesting to see the impact that getting that kind of featured slot on iOS can have. And actually, it's not always true. It's not necessarily beneficial. So in this case, there was very limited impact of being featured by Apple. Okay, so I've been asked to talk about user engagement and how can you extract the maximum amount of cash from your users. So I'm talking about purely freemium games here. Obviously, you can make money from paid games. There's some really good examples earlier on of something called Monument Valley. Has everybody heard about that this week? There's an application from the UK called Monument Valley, and it's a paid app. And it's killing it, loads and loads of downloads. It lasts an hour and a half of gameplay, so it's not open-ended, there's a narrative and it finishes, and people are buying it. And they're buying it like they would buy a book. They're going to play for an hour and a half this game. So, freemium is not the only way. If you craft something beautiful, people will pay upfront for it. It'll get some, virality around it, and you can make money. But what I'm focusing on is providing a free game, and then how do you extract the cash from people using in-app purchase. So what is the D factor? Some people call it average revenue per install, ARPI. I like to call it the D factor. Look at leaderboards for a particular category. So you could look at all games, you could look at a specific subcategory of games, you could look at top overall on Google Play, on Amazon, on iOS. And I want to take the maximum sample of data in order to do this analysis, and it will become clear in a second why. So I've taken a quarter's worth of data from Distimo, and I've divided the total revenues in that period by the total number of downloads for each app. And I call that the D factor. Like I said, you could call that average revenue per install, but if it's a quarterly amount of data, everybody who installed it 6 weeks before I start my research, they could still be using the game. They still could be purchasing stuff within the game. So I don't like calling it an average revenue per install because actually time shifts, time moves around. So this is just a D factor, which is a way of allowing you to benchmark your application and every application that's available within the data. And then what I did is I got rid of all of the applications that had a D factor of less than 1. What that means is the average revenue per install is more than $1. So all of these applications that I'm going to show you have a D factor of more than 1. And then what I suggest you can do, and look for applications that are similar, either similar in monetization strategy or similar in terms of the category that you're targeting to launch your game in, study them. And if they're doing well, if they have a high D factor, then find out how they're extracting that money. How are they engaging with customers? How are they taking them through the funnel? How are they getting repeat payment? And really try and weave that into your application. The thing that you've crafted, it's a beautiful thing, you love it, but how do you actually make money from it? And this is one method of being able to really unravel and study the market. So I took all countries first, and then I did a deep dive into the UK. So what I've plotted here is the D factor on the left-hand side, and across the bottom it's their rank in the top 1,000. So this is worldwide apps in the free category, so ranked by downloads, and then with the D factor plotted. So you can see there's an outlier right at the top with a number of 16, almost 17, and then a bunch of others between kind of 4 and 14, and then a whole load that are between 1 and 2. What does that mean? I mean, I just like making graphs, really. So the one outlier was this application called Kingdoms of Camelot, Battle for the North. Anybody played it? Does anybody recognize it as a game? Anyone going to admit to playing it? No? If it was Flappy Bird, would you admit to that as well? Not? No? Okay. So, again, have a look. How are they extracting cash? How are they getting people to pay? How are they clicking on the in-app purchase? I've said all this before, really, but I want to point it out. I'm not talking about an average revenue per install. That's something that you would measure for your game in a funnel. You would take how much you spend on advertising to acquire those customers. You would look at how many installs you get. You'll have an SDK included in the application that does a callback to show the conversion tracking from when somebody clicked to when they installed, and all the in-app events after it. There are plenty of tools like that for your app. I really love this AppC. Has anybody implemented the AppC SDK into their application? Nobody. I think this is going to be huge. This is a really visual user experience tool. So like Flurry, I'll ask the same question. How many people have integrated Flurry into any of their applications? A few, okay. But if you look at your Flurry statistics and you see the kind of pathways through an application, it gives you a migraine. Gives you a headache. It's really quite complicated. What AppC does, it takes an example user and it shows you in a video them using your app. So they generate a video of somebody typically going through a pathway of your app. So it's like visual analytics. I think that's really, really powerful. I'm going off on one, but obviously you need to implement this type of tool within your application, a conversion tracking tool or a user experience tool within your game to understand when people leave, for how long do they play first time, how often do they come back, what route through the levels do they take, etc., etc. And that's when you can really find out what your average revenue per user is. That's when you can work out, Stefan was saying earlier on, if your acquisition cost is $2, and your average revenue per user is $1.20, you're not going to last very long. You're not going to be shouting, "Show me the money." So you must do that, but you can't do that for somebody else's app because they're not going to share their Flurry login with you. They're not going to share their funnel with you. So what I'm proposing is a different way, and it's not average revenue per install. It's something else, the D factor. So I'm going to quickly rifle through a couple of different categories in the UK. And the reason for that is that it varies wildly between them. So these are the top 5 downloaded applications on iOS in the UK in Q4 2013. And that's the D factor. So Clumsy Ninja was getting 26 cents per install over that quarter. Simpsons Tapped Out was getting $6.50. And that's what I mean, it's not an average revenue per user, because obviously people are using Simpsons Tapped Out for 12, 18 months after install. And that won't be included in their download numbers in Q4 2013, because they would have installed it in Q4 2012. But when you flip that round, and you rank these applications by their D factor, you see that actually they're nowhere in the App Store. They're not getting organic installs. They're not being discovered at 114 in the UK. Nobody swipes that far down, really, do they, when they're looking for a game in role-playing, in adventure? Nobody does that, do they? I don't do that. You do? You're mad. But what you can see is this guy, this Blood Brothers application, a role-playing game, $17.50 per install in that quarter. Then change the category. Look at word games. Scrabble doesn't even make any money. They have a pro version in the paid category, and they try and convert people that download the free version, which is limited, to a paid one. Sounds a bit old-fashioned now. How many people are developing new games which have that monetization model? Free version, upsell to a separate binary. I don't see many people doing that. They've decided that they'll give away the game for free, and there'll be a way of extracting the cash from people. Ruzzle, I really like Ruzzle. I played that for a long time. I don't know if anybody else has played that. It's a really clever word game. If you're interested in word games and you've played Words with Friends and things like that, it's really, really great. But it's not ripping it up. They're not the next Supercell. So it's quite interesting to see, that's much lower for the top 5 in terms of installs in Q4 in the UK. That's a lot lower than in the adventure category. And even if you take the top 5 by this D-factor, it's still only $1.07 down to $1.28 over that period. So, maybe you want to think about how much revenue is being extracted and where you want to invest your time and your money in what categories in the App Store. Final one, trivia. I really love Quiz Up. It's a brilliant game. I don't think it's been internationalized. I think it's kind of targeted at US and UK. The cultural kind of categories that are in there, the sporting categories, they're all very, baseball and soccer, and it's kind of, but I think they use some user-generated creation of quizzes, and that's quite interesting. But again, the top most downloaded application in that quarter, but monetization, it had a really good opportunity to monetize as well, and I hope that there's an update coming where, I hope for them anyway, not necessarily for me, because I enjoy using the game and never having to pay. But you can kind of boost your score with these special packs, and it's like, I don't really want to do that. That doesn't really make sense. Give me extra content. Give me a quiz about Tottenham Hotspur, about mobile apps, and I'll pay to unlock that. Find out what my interests are, because everybody logs in with Facebook, and offer me content that's related to what I've talked about on Facebook, and I'll pay for that. But it's not really monetizing. Some of these, though, are making some good money per install. So they have in quiz, but they're down at, the number of downloads is really, really low. 320 in the UK is really, really low. You get the idea. So what I suggest you could do is go and research. You don't necessarily need to go and purchase a subscription from Distimo to do this. We'd love it if you did, because that means I can show me the money. But you don't have to. You can just go to the top ranking, the top grossing apps in your category that you're interested in, and start downloading those apps. Start wondering how are they making people pay. My colleague Richard's really going to love this example, because I know in Poland you all love cricket. Am I right? Am I right? No. My cultural kind of awareness is really bad. But I love cricket, and I love this game. It's a sports simulation game where you hit a ball, and you can hit 6s and 4s, and you can play the most famous cricketers in the world, and it's fantastic. And I played the free version of this game for ages, and then they came out with partnerships. And this is a really interesting engagement model. So imagine Candy Crush, where you go through the levels, and you're up at a level 117. Well, this is the same thing, except you're waiting on someone in Pakistan to play the next shot for you, because he's your partner. In cricket, you have one person at this end and they're facing the ball coming at them, and then another guy is at the other end waiting for you to play, and then they get a go. And they've built this game around that kind of relationship. So you have random connections all around the world. Well, when I say all around the world, mainly, India, Pakistan, Australia, where the British Empire was, South Africa, etc. And you play this game, and you're waiting sometimes 24 hours for them to post the next, and it could just be one go. Literally, the ball comes in, they hit it, and then it's your go. But what they do is they have this idea of cash. This is a common thing in games. You have virtual currency, and you can do things with the virtual currency. But because you don't want to let your partner down, this person you've never met, you're never going to meet, that's playing on his Android phone in, I don't know, Bangladesh, you spend money to buy a bigger bat, or to buy these things called dodgy referrals. That means it's an extra life. But they've really, really understood how cricket people think, how people think about cricket. And so you get out and you go, I've let my partner down in Bangladesh, but actually I've paid some money. So they go, no, it's okay, you can have another go. You haven't let your partner down. And I think this is a really good kind of analogy for any potential gameplay where you've got this kind of friendship built for multiplayer games, and this is obviously not synchronized, not in real time. Simpsons Tapped Out. I haven't played it, to be honest. I don't know if anyone ever spent any time building a Springfield city. No? You have, and you admitted it. It must be good. So you probably know a bit more about how they extract the cash, but it's a similar thing, right? So I'd love to know, and we can't find out from Distimo, but I'd love to know how many times somebody spent £70 on an in-app purchase for this game. For 2,400 donuts. I mean, you could buy 2,400 donuts in real life for £70, right? But it's all about that engagement period and how long they've been playing it. If you've invested a year of your life, you know, every 10 minutes that you have spare on the bus or before you go to bed, putting a new street into Springfield, and somebody offers you a way to speed up time by spending some money, people do it. And again, I think it's really understanding the content that you've built the game around. You know, if you like vampires, or if you like The Simpsons, or if you like cricket, like me, you know, you have to kind of be a subject matter expert to be able to understand how your fans, the fans of your games, will go through the gameplay and open up their virtual wallet and pay some money to you. Some other examples, Modern War, it's the same thing, right? You see the trend. There's products there, they're virtual, and you can unlock them. Slot Mania, so slots have made shed loads of money. We can go and look at the data of the casino category, you know, and it's really interesting because you've got these old, what we call in the UK, bricks and mortar companies, you know, real gambling companies that are in this category. And then you have some new entrants like Zynga and, you know, Playtico and people like that who are making lots and lots of money from virtual gambling. But it's all about saying, you know, you did it. You got 5 in a row. Now share. You know, make it viral or pay so you don't have to share. And going back to Ruzzle, who I showed before, I think this is fantastic. Again, it's very similar to that cricket thing, you know, except you're playing against somebody rather than with somebody. And you just want to keep playing. Quiz Up, exactly the same. You know, you're playing somebody else, you're challenging somebody else. So the level of engagement, because you've got this kind of sociability going on, means I'm more willing to take some money out in order to keep that going, to keep that virtual relationship with some random person who I'm never going to meet, to keep it going. And then one final thing, so a really good example from Creative up in Tallinn, and they had 50,000 people sign up to an Android beta before the game launched. So on day one, they had this engaged audience that couldn't wait for this game to be there. And as soon as they launched, of course, everybody was recommending this game that was now available to people in their network. And I just think, you know, if you can build a user base like that beforehand, but also if you can make the application itself shareable and engaged in that way, then you're on a sure thing. Finally, before I kind of pull up some data, if I am on the internet, which I think I am, please check out distimo.com/publications. There's shed loads of free information there for you about this kind of stuff, about what it means to be featured, about the gambling category and how that's becoming really, really huge, or about how applications successfully monetize. We put that out there because, you know, there's a lot of interesting data, and you probably, as you start out your mobile games career or your new business or whatever, you're probably not going to pay for the data, but please, you can get these free publications. So I'm going to put the mic down while I switch, and while I do, please shout out, is there any particular category within games, iOS or Google Play, any particular country that you'd be really interested in seeing? While I'm just switching over, yeah, so you can go first.
Maybe social casino, especially slots games, maybe in the United States.
Social casino, slots, USA. Okay. The resolution's not quite right. So, on iOS,
Yeah.
United States, So this is, sorry, to introduce it for those who we haven't demoed to this week, this is the interface. Leaderboards is a way of seeing the kind of top charts, like Google, Apple and Amazon present every single day. This is a similar way of doing it, but we can aggregate it daily, weekly, monthly. So we just add it up, right? But we can unlock the actual number of downloads and the actual number of revenue, sorry, the estimated number of downloads and the estimated amount of revenue per application. So, casino, iPhone, USA, April. Live demo, very dangerous. No internet connection. HP guest.
Yeah.
I know why it's not working. I haven't got my beer with me. Resolving host probably is not a good sign, is it?
Okay.
Let me switch and see if I can join the HP. Speakers. If this fails, then we'll just go back to watching the film. Here we go. So, USA. Games Casino. iPhone. Monthly, April. So because the resolution doesn't normally look like this, there's a bit of a user error on my part. So you can have two views. You can see publishers, so where a publisher has multiple games, we sum all of the downloads and revenue into one pot for that publisher, or you can click on apps, and that will show you the individual apps. Now what I need to be able to do is to fit that on one screen. Okay. So again, these are estimates. They're not real numbers. Obviously, we wouldn't have a business if we were sharing real numbers of people. And the estimation is based on a regression curve. So we have a number of applications where we know the real data. And for every individual application in the App Store, we take the real data out of that curve. And we know from position number 1 down to position number 400, a kind of smoothed curve. So that gives us a reasonably accurate level, an accurate enough level of knowledge about what position number 1, 2, 3, etc., is in terms of downloads and revenue. And then we aggregate that up each month. Okay, so it's quite a simple piece of mathematics. And then we also have a whole load of history. So we know roughly throughout history what the trend is for position number 27. We know what number 26 does and what number 28 does, and we kind of know roughly where they fit in. So, I don't know if you can see this at the back, but what this is showing you for slots, so in the casino category, these are the top 5. How many downloads they had in the month of April, and what revenue is. And I've clicked on grossing, so this is now ranked by the revenue. But if we click on free, this will be the number of downloads driving it. And then you can see what the revenue is. And then you can start thinking about the D number. Is that a good number? Is extracting, $3 per install in the month? Bearing in mind that they may have installed it 3 months ago and they're still engaged, but as an average, as a benchmark, is that good? Are they doing better? Looks like they are. So you get the feeling. Is there any particular application that you're interested in?
Well, maybe choose one of those that are doing the best.
Okay. So what you can do, so this is paid for data, right? So people pay a subscription to Distimo to be able to access this information. It's not freely available. And then you can see these leaderboards, and then you can click on this icon here, and that will take you to the individual app over time. The cloud that you see across the line, that's us saying that this isn't a real number, this is an estimation. It's algorithmic. And if you're going to make a big marketing decision about taking on one of these applications, you need to know that there's a confidence interval around this data point. So the cloud says it could be up there or it could be down there. It's not an actual number. So always be reminded that statistics can lie. So we're very, very transparent about that. The cloud, the confidence of each data point. So this is showing you over the last 3 months, say, how many installs in the US this application achieved. And it had a big spike on whatever day that is, 27th of February. They ran a marketing campaign, I don't know, I can't tell. But obviously something happened on those days. It's a holiday in the US, or people like to gamble on that day to, National Play iPhone Games Day or something, I don't know. You can also see it a different way. So this is a heat map for that application that shows you the popularity of that application in each country. So in the US, for this particular application, 50%, almost half of the installs are in the US. But you can see there are installs all around the world, and you can go down and see each individual percentage. Any other categories that people are interested in? More, what's the word? Lovingly created games than slot machines. Something a bit more adventurous, or.
It's like free to play, let's say, MMORPGs, core.
So that would be in. Let me. iOS, Google Play? Any particular interest?
iOS.
iOS. We all love Apple, don't we? And any particular country?
Well, let's say Germany.
Germany, okay. Not Australia, Germany. So, and which one do you say? Role playing or?
Role play.
Role play. And let's look at iPad. I don't know why, just seems good. So again, Apple App Store, Germany, role play, and the month of April. But interestingly, there's a Star Wars game just popped up there, and I think that's going to be an interesting development, that Lucas are really kind of licensing a lot of that content. But I think that was released on like the last week of April. So, in Germany, the number of downloads and the amount of revenue in this role-playing category on iPad. But what we can do, you can see the type of names. Do you recognise those? Are you going to try and compete with some of these? Is that your plan to world domination? You're not going to shout, "Show me the money"? So let's combine all devices, so iOS and iPad revenue. So it changes when you include both of those apps. Let's just see if the same applications are at the top. No, so there are some applications again where the number of downloads puts them, lower down the category, but they're actually bringing in significant amounts of revenue in Germany in 1 month. So that's the point. The sort of summary of this is that there's loads of data out there. Some of it's freely available. The applications you can download and unravel yourself and study and understand how they're engaging with people, how they're subject matter experts, how they really understand that what the people, their target audience, they might be a 24-year-old cricket fan like me, or they might be a 16-year-old role-playing, fanatic. But you have to get into their minds and understand when you can ask them to pay, when it's not a pain to be offered something to continue, where it feels like a positive purchase rather than a, why are you making me do this now? And then you can go and study the numbers around it and really understand how successful applications are doing this. So I'm happy to carry on. I've got some beer. I can go into any categories you like. We can talk about it afterwards, back on the Distimo stand, where there'll be some more beer, I suspect. But unless there's any other questions, I think that's it for the conference speaking. Any other questions?
Will you share the slides for the presentation later? Or?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So I am Bookmeister on Twitter or chris@distimo.com. So whoever asked, I didn't see who it was.
Okay, cool.
And I can email them, or I don't know if there is the slides available on Digital Dragon's website. Or...
It would be private,
okay,
yeah.
There you go. So they should be up there, but you can ask me directly via Twitter or email anyway. Any other questions about what's been presented? You're all going to go and make loads of money.
What price is that? The book?
What price is that? I'll send you an email. It's really good value.
But, yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Chris.